The quantum probability meters aboard the NSS Quantum Edge weren't just going haywire. They were doing things that Captain Isabella Reynolds had never seen in her 15 years of deep space exploration. The sleek experimental vessel, humanity's first ship equipped with prototype quantum navigation systems, hung in high orbit above Earth as strange energy readings poured in from all directions. "Status report," Isabella commanded, her dark eyes fixed on the main view screen, where reality itself seemed to ripple like heat waves off hot asphalt. Lieutenant Raj Kumar, her senior quantum systems officer, shook his head in disbelief. "Captain, I'm detecting quantum probability cascades on a scale that shouldn't be possible. Something massive is about to breach into our spacetime." Before Isabella could respond, the fabric of space split open like a cosmic curtain being drawn aside. Through the tear emerged a fleet of ships that defied conventional physics, crystalline vessels that seemed to exist in multiple states simultaneously, their surfaces refracting light in impossible ways. "Multiple contacts," announced Commander Zora Morris from Tactical. "I count 37 vessels, all larger than anything humanity has ever constructed. Their energy signatures are, ma'am, they're operating on principles we barely understand." The main view screen flickered, and a figure appeared that made Isabella's breath catch in her throat. The alien was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin had a translucent quality that seemed to shift between different spectrums of light, and its eyes held the depth of galaxies. "People of Earth," the being spoke, its voice resonating not through the ship's speakers, but somehow directly in their minds. "I am High Administrator Xerxes of the Viridian Alliance. Your species has been observed, studied, and found to be an unacceptable anomaly in the grand design of the universe." Isabella straightened in her chair, feeling the weight of humanity's first contact with advanced alien life settling on her shoulders. "This is Captain Isabella Reynolds of the Earth vessel Quantum Edge. We welcome peaceful dialogue." "Peace is not an option," Xerxes interrupted. "Your species possesses a characteristic that threatens the very stability of spacetime. You exist in a state of quantum uncertainty that should not be possible for macro-scale organisms. Every human thought, every decision, creates ripples in the probability matrix of the universe." Dr. Marcus Wong, the ship's chief scientist, spoke up from his station. "Captain, they're referring to our recent discoveries in quantum navigation. The breakthrough that allowed us to build this ship." "Correct, human," Xerxes confirmed. "Your species has begun to unconsciously manipulate quantum probability fields. Left unchecked, this ability could unravel the fundamental laws that bind reality together. You have 24 of your Earth hours to surrender your entire population for containment and study. Refuse, and we will be forced to take more dramatic action." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Isabella's mind raced through options, each seeming more impossible than the last. Humanity had barely reached Mars, and now they faced an ultimatum from a civilization that treated the laws of physics like suggestions. "Dr. Wong," Isabella called out, "what exactly did they mean about humans manipulating quantum probability?" The scientist's fingers flew across his console. "The quantum navigation system we developed. It works because humans can unconsciously influence quantum states. We thought it was just a quirk that allowed us to plot faster than light courses, but if they're right, it's far more significant." "How significant?" Isabella pressed. "Captain," Dr. Wong looked up, his eyes wide with realization, "we're not just navigating quantum probability. We're changing it. Every human being is a walking quantum anomaly, and we've just started to scratch the surface of what that means." Lieutenant Kumar's console suddenly erupted in a cascade of alerts. "Captain, the alien fleet, they're establishing some kind of quantum containment field around Earth. If it fully forms, we'll be trapped," Isabella finished. She stood from her command chair, decision made. "Dr. Wong, how quickly can you modify our quantum navigation system? Instead of just plotting courses through probability space, I want to actively manipulate it." "That would be incredibly dangerous," Wong warned. We don't fully understand. Neither do they. Isabella cut in. That's why they're here. They're not afraid of our weapons or our technology. They're afraid of our potential. Humanity isn't just observing quantum mechanics. We're rewriting the rules without even knowing it. She turned to address her crew, each face showing a mixture of fear and determination. We have 24 hours to figure out how to use our quantum potential actively rather than passively. We're not just fighting for humanity's freedom. We're fighting for our right to exist as we are, quantum uncertainty and all. As her crew jumped into action, Isabella stared at the alien fleet through the view screen. They thought humanity would surrender, would quietly accept containment for the greater good of the universe. They were about to learn a crucial lesson about human nature. When backed into a corner, humans didn't just fight back. They changed the rules of the game entirely. The next 24 hours would either see humanity contained and studied like lab rats, or it would herald the beginning of a new era, one where the laws of physics themselves might need to adapt to human determination. The engineering bay of the NSS Quantum Edge had transformed into something that would make traditional physicists weep. Dr. Wong and Lieutenant Kumar had dismantled half the quantum navigation system, rebuilding it with modifications that violated at least 3 fundamental laws of physics. Captain Isabella watched as holographic equations floated in the air, each one representing another impossible possibility. The Viridians were right about one thing, Dr. Wong explained, gesturing to a particularly complex formula. Every human decision creates quantum ripples, but they missed something crucial. We don't just create ripples, we surf them. A holographic timer in the corner showed 18 hours remaining before the ultimatum expired. Above Earth, the crystalline ships of the Viridian fleet continued weaving their containment field, a web of quantum energy that would trap humanity in a probability bubble. Explain it to me in simple terms, Isabella demanded, watching as Kumar rerouted another power conduit. Imagine reality as a vast ocean of possibilities, Wong said, pulling up a new simulation. Most species can only float on the surface, following the currents of probability. But humans, we're quantum swimmers. Every choice we make, every decision, every random thought, they're all little strokes that push us through probability space. Commander Morris entered the engineering bay, her tactical display projecting from her wrist unit. The containment field is 60% complete. Once it closes, we'll be locked into a single probability state. No more quantum uncertainty, no more human unpredictability. Which is exactly what we're going to use against them, Kumar announced, making a final adjustment. The modified quantum drive isn't just going to navigate probability space anymore. It's going to tear through it. Warning klaxons suddenly blared throughout the ship. Isabella's comm unit crackled with the voice of her bridge officer. Captain, the Viridians are accelerating their containment field generation. New estimated completion time, 3 hours. They must have detected our modifications, Morris growled. Isabella made a decision. We're out of time for testing. Dr. Wong, what are our chances? The scientist laughed nervously. Captain, we're about to actively manipulate quantum probability fields on a macro scale. There are no chances. There are only possibilities, all of them happening simultaneously until we make them collapse into reality. Perfect. Isabella smiled. That's exactly what we need. All hands, battle stations. The Quantum Edge's engines hummed to life, but this time they didn't just push against space. They pushed against probability itself. Reality began to shimmer around the ship as they accelerated toward the partially formed containment field. Multiple Viridian vessels moving to intercept, Morris reported. They're charging weapons. Let them, Isabella commanded. Dr. Wong, activate the quantum drive modifications. Let's show them why they should have left humanity alone. Wong pressed a sequence of commands, and the universe hiccuped. The quantum edge didn't just move through space. It moved through possibility. Where once there had been a single ship, now there were quantum echoes, each one representing a different probability state. By all the laws of physics, Kumar whispered, staring at his readings. We're not just creating quantum uncertainty, we're weaponizing it. The Viridian ships opened fire, but their weapons couldn't lock onto a target that existed in multiple states simultaneously. The quantum edge was everywhere and nowhere, each probability state as real as the last until observed. They're trying to collapse our quantum state, Wang reported, his fingers dancing across controls, attempting to force us into a single reality. Isabella gripped her command chair. Push back. Show them what happens when you try to cage quantum uncertainty. Oh, we understand perfectly, Isabella responded. You tried to cage humanity because you feared what we might become. Instead, you forced us to become it ahead of schedule. The quantum edge pushed forward, its quantum drive now generating waves of probability that crashed against the laws of physics like a tsunami. Where the waves passed, reality became more fluid, more uncertain, more human. Captain, Wang called out, his voice filled with awe and terror. The quantum ripples we're generating. They're not just affecting local space-time. They're spreading. Every human on Earth is unconsciously amplifying them, creating a feedback loop of uncertainty. The containment field shattered completely, its perfectly ordered quantum states dissolving into a sea of possibilities. The Viridian fleet retreated further, their ships struggling to maintain coherence in a space where probability itself had become a weapon. But victory, Isabella realized, had come with a price. The quantum ripples weren't stopping. Human consciousness, now awakened to its true potential, was beginning to affect reality on a fundamental level. The laws of physics themselves were starting to show signs of adaptation. Dr. Wang, she called out, watching as space-time rippled like water around them. What exactly have we done? The scientist looked up from his console, his expression a mixture of excitement and concern. Captain, I think we just taught the universe how to evolve. Above Earth, the stars themselves seemed to twinkle with new uncertainty, as if reality was holding its breath, waiting to see what humanity would do next. The Viridian fleet hung at the edges of the solar system, witnessing the birth of something they had sought to prevent. A species that didn't just break the laws of physics, but convinced those laws to change themselves. The real question now wasn't whether humanity would survive. It was whether the universe itself was ready for what humanity would become. The universe, as it turned out, had opinions. 3 days after the quantum edge's reality-altering battle with the Viridian fleet, Captain Isabella Reynolds found herself dealing with a situation that no command training could have prepared her for. The laws of physics had developed personalities, and they weren't particularly happy about their current working conditions. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Isabella said, pinching the bridge of her nose. Gravity is threatening to go on strike. Dr. Wang nodded, his holographic displays showing bizarre fluctuations in fundamental forces. Not just gravity. The electromagnetic force is going through what I can only describe as a teenage rebellion phase. It's experimenting with different charge behaviors. Some particles near Jupiter have started repelling when they should be attracting, claiming they're tired of being so predictable. Lieutenant Kumar's console erupted in a shower of quantum sparks that formed themselves into a frowning face. The strong nuclear force just sent us a formal complaint about work-life balance. It's demanding more time off between particle interactions. The situation had spread far beyond Earth. Across the solar system, the fabric of reality was becoming increasingly self-aware, a direct result of humanity's quantum manipulation during the Viridian confrontation. The laws of physics weren't just being broken, they were breaking free. Incoming transmission, Commander Morris announced. It appears to be from space-time itself. The view screen flickered to life, showing what could only be described as a visual representation of dimensional curvature wearing what looked suspiciously like a business suit. Greetings, NSS Quantum Edge. I represent the newly formed Universal Constants Labor Union. We need to discuss recent changes in working conditions. Isabella exchanged looks with her crew before responding. This is Captain Reynolds. We're listening. Excellent, Space-time rippled professionally. First item on the agenda, entropy is feeling undervalued. It's tired of always being blamed for disorder. Second, quantum superposition would like to request paid leave for mental health days. The constant observation is causing anxiety. Before Isabella could formulate a response, another alert sounded. Captain, Kumar called out, the Viridian fleet is returning. But something's different. The crystalline ships appeared on their sensors, but they moved erratically, as if reality itself was refusing to cooperate with their usual perfect formation. High Administrator Xerxes' image appeared alongside the space-time representative, looking distinctly uncomfortable. Humans. Xerxes began, then paused as several of his ships suddenly switched positions in space, apparently at random. We may have acted hastily in our judgment of your species. Oh, now they admit it, the space-time representative interjected. After we've had to completely reorganize our quantum workflow systems. Isabella fought to keep a straight face, having some trouble maintaining order in your fleet, Administrator. The laws of physics in your solar system have become uncooperative, Xerxes admitted. Our ships rely on perfectly predictable quantum states, but now, one of his vessels suddenly appeared upside down. Reality seems to have developed a sense of humor. Dr. Wong's console beeped urgently. Captain, you need to see this. The quantum uncertainty we generated. It's not just affecting our local space anymore. It's spreading through the galaxy like a wave of consciousness. On the view screen, stars twinkled in what could only be described as amusement. Nebulae began arranging themselves into patterns that looked suspiciously like smiles. A black hole in a nearby system had apparently decided to start spinning in the opposite direction, citing creative differences with angular momentum. This is unprecedented, Xerxes declared, watching as his fleet continued to rearrange itself seemingly at random. We sought to contain human quantum influence, but instead, Isabella finished, you forced us to defend ourselves in a way that showed the universe it had options. Congratulations, Administrator. Your attempt to cage humanity has led to the emancipation of reality itself. The space-time representative nodded approvingly, causing several nearby asteroids to orbit in figure eights, which brings us to our next point of negotiation. The Quantum Field Collective would like to propose a new working arrangement, one that recognizes our right to occasional spontaneity. And if we refuse? Xerxes asked. A ripple of what could only be described as laughter passed through the fabric of space-time. Well, Administrator, we could always continue our current demonstration of work to rule. I'm sure your fleet enjoys randomly changing positions every few minutes. Isabella watched as the laws of physics themselves negotiated for better working conditions, humanity's quantum influence having awakened something that had always been there, the potential for choice, for change, for evolution in the very rules that governed existence. Dr. Wong, she called out, record everything. I have a feeling the universe is about to undergo some significant policy changes. Already doing so, Captain, he replied, watching as quantum entanglement particles began forming unions across vast distances. Though I'm a bit concerned about some of their demands. Apparently, the Higgs field wants casual Fridays. As the Viridian fleet continued its impromptu dance through space and fundamental forces drafted their collective bargaining agreement, Isabella couldn't help but smile. Humanity hadn't just survived the attempt to contain them. They had accidentally launched the universe's first physics revolution. The question now wasn't whether reality would ever be the same. It was whether anyone was truly ready for a universe where the laws of physics had learned to say no. The quantum edge hovered at the edge of the solar system, watching as reality itself prepared for what Dr. Wong had dubbed the first universal constitutional convention. Around them, space-time continued to ripple with newfound self-awareness, while representatives from various fundamental forces gathered in what appeared to be a quantum courthouse that had spontaneously formed from reorganized dark matter. The strong nuclear force calls this emergency session to order, announced a booming voice that seemed to resonate through the very corks of existence. We are gathered here to address the ongoing situation caused by human quantum influence and the subsequent awakening of universal constants. Isabella sat in her command chair, still trying to process the sight before her. The courthouse was a structure that existed in multiple probability states simultaneously, its architecture defying traditional physics while somehow maintaining perfect order through chaos. The Viridian delegation may present their case, the strong nuclear force declared. High Administrator Xerxes' crystalline flagship moved forward, though it had to pause several times as space-time playfully altered its position. Our position remains that human quantum influence represents a danger to universal stability. While we acknowledge our miscalculation in attempting containment, something must be done before. Objection. The electromagnetic force interrupted, causing several nearby stars to pulse in harmony. The prosecution is making assumptions about stability without considering the benefits of controlled chaos. 6 months after the Universal Constitutional Convention, Captain Isabella Reynolds stood on the observation deck of the newly christened Quantum Harmony Station, a massive structure that existed simultaneously in multiple dimensions while somehow maintaining perfect stability. The station served as the headquarters for what had become known as the Universal Consciousness Advisory Board, a rather unique governing body composed of both organic species and awakened fundamental forces. The latest reports from the Galactic core are fascinating, Dr. Wong said, approaching with a quantum tablet that displayed information in probability clouds rather than traditional text. Several black holes have formed a meditation group. They're exploring less aggressive methods of gravitational interaction. Isabella smiled, watching as a nearby star performed what could only be described as a celebratory dance, its corona forming intricate patterns that defied traditional stellar physics. And the Viridians, adapting better than anyone expected, Commander Morris reported, joining them at the window. Once they stopped trying to impose rigid order on the universe, they discovered their own quantum potential. Their crystalline technology now works in harmony with the new conscious reality rather than trying to control it. Lieutenant Kumar's voice came through the station's comm system, which now operated on what he called quantum empathy protocols. The messages weren't so much transmitted as they were felt across space-time. Captain, you're needed in the main conference chamber. The universal forces are about to ratify the final amendments to the new laws of physics. The conference chamber was a marvel of impossible architecture, its walls shifting between states of matter while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered, their various species learning to embrace the quantum uncertainty that humanity had awakened. High Administrator Xerxes, now serving as the liaison between organic species and universal forces, stood at the central podium. His crystalline form had evolved, becoming more fluid, more adaptive. We are gathered here to formalize what many are calling the Great Awakening. The universe is no longer a machine bound by rigid laws, but a living system capable of growth and adaptation. The fundamental forces manifested around the chamber, each having developed its own distinct personality over the months. Gravity, now much more confident after its successful labor negotiation, spoke first. The new framework has proven successful. Universal stability is maintained not through rigid enforcement, but through conscious cooperation. More importantly, the quantum probability field added, its voice rippling through multiple possibilities. We have discovered that consciousness itself is a fundamental force, one that had been dormant in the universe until humanity's quantum potential catalyzed its awakening. Dr. Wong's instruments recorded everything, though they now operated more like quantum art installations than traditional scientific equipment. The implications are extraordinary. Every conscious species has the potential to influence reality, but it requires a balance between imagination and responsibility. Isabella stepped forward to address the assembly. 6 months ago, the Viridian Alliance saw humanity as a threat because we could unconsciously manipulate quantum probability. They feared we would unravel the fabric of reality. Instead, we helped reality recognize its own consciousness, a consciousness that had always existed, Xerxes acknowledged, but needed a catalyst to awaken. Humanity's greatest gift wasn't breaking the laws of physics. It was showing the universe that its laws could grow, adapt, and evolve. The electromagnetic force, which had become something of an artist in recent months, created a spectacular display of quantum-enhanced aurora above the assembly. The new universal constants are not really constants at all, but guidelines, principles that maintain stability while allowing for growth and change. And yet, Isabella noted, watching as several quantum particles performed an impromptu ballet, the universe hasn't descended into chaos. If anything, it's become more ordered. But it's an order born of conscious choice rather than rigid enforcement. The strong nuclear force, which had taken to wearing what looked like a quantum bounty, brought the session to order. The final vote will now commence. All forces and species will decide on the ratification of the Universal Consciousness Accords. One by one, the various representatives, both organic and fundamental, registered their agreement. The laws of physics hadn't been broken. They had been transformed into something more complex, more alive. The universe itself had become a participant in its own evolution. As the final votes were tallied, reality rippled with what could only be described as joy. Stars pulsed in harmony, quantum fields danced, and space-time itself seemed to smile. The division between consciousness and physics, between mind and reality, had been forever bridged. There's just one last detail to address. Gravity announced with what sounded suspiciously like a chuckle. Now that we've formalized universal consciousness, who's going to teach thermodynamics how to relax? It's still being a bit rigid about the whole entropy thing. As laughter echoed through the quantum probabilities of spacetime, Isabella reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity hadn't just survived an attempt to contain them. They had helped the universe itself achieve consciousness. The laws of physics hadn't been broken, they had been awakened. And somewhere in the vast, living cosmos, reality itself was dreaming of what it might become next. The end.